It's Monday, MLK Day in the USA. I'm Lawrence Presman, the Prez. You're watching Puck Time, and we've got Andrew McInnis and Carmine Bianco with us. Let's bring them in, boys. A coffee to both of you. What's going on, Andrew? How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was a really good weekend. Doing really well right now in college hoops and NBA. Hockey's doing pretty good, but not as good as those basketball sports. And told you on Friday I was doing all kinds of play-by-play stuff all weekend. So a little bit of a sore throat, but getting paid to pretty much watch sports, Prez, and talk about sports is a pretty fun job. So it was a pretty good weekend. How are you?
I'm great, dude, and you're a lucky guy. Great job, nice age. Other than where you live and who you cheer for, everything in your life is good.
I'll give you that, sure.
Carmine Bianco.
Yes, guys.
We spent Friday night together at a poker tournament. That was fun, right up until the end.
Like 3 a.m. in the morning. I busted out of that tournament. I think I made a mistake on the way I played the hand.
You did.
So I did. So I don't feel bad about busting out because I know I made a mistake. So it's all good. But you final tabled, and unfortunately, I know this is a hockey show. Lawrence ran into a guy with, I think, 4 left in the tournament, him and 3 others, who possibly had a brain fart and literally made quite possibly one of the worst calls I've seen in poker, and then got rewarded for it somehow.
Yeah, I had a pair of 9s in the big blind. He was in the small blind. We were chip leader 1 and 2. He had me covered by about $20K. I had like 460 and he had like 480 or something. He raises in the small blind with King 7. I have a pair of 9s. I pop all in, and he calls the all-in bet with his tournament life on the line and 2 short stacks with King 7. And he hits 2 7s. And Carm can attest to this. I don't get mad at poker. Poker's a funny game. You lose, you get soured, run a runner, things go wrong. I literally had to be removed from the poker room by Carm. I was...
Yeah, it's a bad move.
I was screaming at the guy.
Yeah.
So you're like Phil Hellmuth, Prez.
No, because I've never done that before in my life. I was...
Yeah, he does.
Go ahead, Carm.
Sorry. He doesn't get mad in tournaments. I've played with him in Vegas at the World Series of Poker and at Venetian, and if he busts out, he just gets up and leaves. And but this was such a terrible play. And for anyone out there watching who's a hockey fan but also a poker fan, with the 2 shorter stacks at the table, it's an ICM disaster to make the call like that guy did. You're more times than not, you're burning money. He got rewarded for a bad mistake, but he was literally risking minimum second place money for fourth place money, which there's a big difference in cash between the two by making that play. That it's just a negative even play to make. And this is the thing, it happens sometimes, but it's the first time I've seen the Prez get that angry at the person. I think that person knew they made a bad call, but it... I
gotta ask, guys, what was the reaction from the guy that won the pot, won the hand there? Was he humble about it, or was he like...
No, he was embarrassed. I mean, he realized he made a stupid call, but that doesn't, that doesn't help me. Like, I wanted to punch him in the face. Anyway, it's puck time. It's hockey talk. So we should just congratulate Kansas City and San Fran. And, I feel like we've got ourselves a really good Super Bowl matchup. The most unstoppable offense we've seen since the greatest show on turf. Versus the fastest defense in the league. And one with an incredible pass rush. It's going to be an outstanding Super Bowl. Make sure to check out all our videos. We're going to be doing a ton of stuff on the Super Bowl. And the NFL presidential address will happen next week. So please stay tuned for that. Boys, there's only 2 games today, and one is at 3 p.m. and almost impossible to really talk about. Detroit against Colorado. And Here we have Colorado, Andrew, at minus 408. The puck line is minus 1.5, minus 160. And I get it, but I can't bet it. It's just, I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do in a disaster like this. Take Detroit, hold your nose, and hope. I can't even do that. Where are you going, brother?
Yeah, well, I mean, Carmine's been talking about how he's not interested in taking any puck lines when you're getting like a minus 110 or even worse. Like you want to get a plus number when you're taking puck lines, but at the same time, I mean, a winner's a winner is the way I would like to look at it in a certain sense in an opportunity like this. But I think the best way to go about it here, I'm going to grab the plus money on over 4.5 team total for the Colorado Avalanche at plus 135. So we're seeing all these minus 400s, minus 150. I'm going to try and look ahead and find this plus money here. And, even if Detroit goes and gets 1 or 2 goals or whatever, I mean, I seriously think that there's no point in taking a full game over. You can find some really good value at the plus money. Or even, Prez doing your, Washington Capitals minus 2.5 goals or what have you. I mean, whenever you've done those, I've always thought it was kind of a joke, but then, it still is, it still works. I mean, it's still a thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure more times than not that you've said that.
Every time.
You cashed in. Yeah, and, this is an opportunity right here where if your book offers, alternative lines, this is what you want to look at here. And, obviously, I wouldn't even recommend anybody tossing, Colorado on a parlay or anything like that. There's just no value in it. I'm sitting right now locked in on over 4.5 team total plus 135. I mean, pretty good value on that.
Yeah, look, I understand where you're going, but I can't bet for a team to score 5 goals in a game, even with Jimmy Howard potentially in net. That's just too much for me. I mean, I listen, guys out there watching our show. All because there's only 2 games doesn't mean you need to bet one of them. This is your hard-earned money. You can pass. And my suggestion is pass, because to bet for a team to get 5 goals, you look at Colorado, they got 5 against St. Louis. They got 4 against San Jose. They got 2 against Dallas. They got 3 against Pittsburgh. They got 3 against the Rangers. They got 0 against the Islanders. They've gone 5, they've hit 5 goals 2 out of 7. I understand none of those teams were Detroit, but man, that is just way, way too many goals.
Prez, I'm just talking value here, though. That's all I was saying. I found a pretty good value, plus price. That's all.
Yeah, but guys, you don't need to bet this game, and my suggestion is don't. Carm, what do you think?
Yeah, the line's ugly. Like, these are the ones where people sometimes end up throwing them in parlays to reduce your exposure and stuff. You can pass on this one. If anything, if you held a gun to my head and say you have to put a play in this game, I'd probably take the Avalanche laying 2.5 goals to get plus 105. And even
I'd rather that bet than the over.
And even that is not the greatest wager, because I'll tell you why. Because you start the game essentially down 2-0, right? Because you've got to win by 3 in order to win that. But if it's Howard in net today, he's been absolutely, and it's not confirmed yet at filming, he's 2-17-2. So he's lost 19 of 21 games this year when they put him between the pipes. His goals against average is 4.06, and his save percentage, again, it's that .883. I always tell you anything under 9 isn't usually the greatest. And on the road, even though Detroit's been playing a little bit better defensively at home, and I've told people to try and avoid taking Detroit overs just because it's Detroit when they're at home, because there's a lot of low scores on their card now. At home, they're playing better. On the road, 8-2, 4-1, 4-2, 5-4, 5-1, 6-1, 5-1, 5-4. They're allowing goals on the road, although they have been scoring some. I don't see that happening. Grubauer should be in net today. He's 4-1-1 this year in 2020 for the Avalanche, and they're scoring 4 or more goals in his game, so he's getting plenty of support when he's in net. if I again, I'm passing on the game, but if I had to take anything, I'd take the -2.5, get plus 105. And if you have to watch the game and have to have action on it,
Guys, we had a promo up last week, all week. Really cheap price for our NHL season and playoffs. And we've extended it for today. This is the last day of this promotion. $345 for Carm, Dave, or my NHL package, our season and playoffs, $345. Use the promo code CARM345, Dave345, or Prez345. Andrew, I'll have a promo up for you tomorrow. Just send me some streaks and whatnot, and I'll put it together.
Okay.
This Florida team, boys, they're on the road. They're playing Minnesota. They're a good team. They are fast. They are fun to watch. They are playing open ice hockey right now. They just beat the Detroit Red Wings, who we just spoke about, 4-1. They beat the Kings 4-3. They whooped the Leafs 8-4. They beat Montreal in their mind 15-0. They beat Florida 5-2. Vancouver 5-2. This team's on a 4-game win streak. But here we have a tale of two styles of play. Minnesota, more tight checking team. They put up 7 against Dallas and shut them out, 7-0. And then they beat Tampa Bay. Minnesota is obviously playing better hockey here. But look, if I'm going to get a short price on Florida, I'm going to take it. And here they are at -110. I think they're the play tonight, Andrew.
Definitely wouldn't argue with that at all. Like you said, the price is what matters in this opportunity, and Florida playing better hockey, on a larger scale. But recency, you got to tip your hat to Minnesota. People out there in the Twitter world or YouTube like to think that a lot of us don't, talk about our losses. And I'll be the first one to say I had Dallas in that game against Minnesota, 7-0 loss. I mean, it happens sometimes. I typically thought that after that game against Tampa Bay, it might be a flat spot for this Minnesota squad, but they're staying strong at home right now. They're scoring goals. I'm going with the over here, guys. We're seeing a total of 6. Most of the year for the Florida Panthers, we've seen a total of 6.5. We're catching Minnesota right now in a time slot where they're scoring. This is probably their last game. I think it's their last game, unless they play tomorrow before the All-Star break. So either way, we're closing in on the last few games before the All-Star break. They're going to try and go into that All-Star on a good note, and so far they have been doing that. So I think to get 7 goals between these two teams right now shouldn't be too tough, and I'm pretty shocked that we're not seeing any 6.5s, and it's definitely because of Minnesota. Even though they hung that 7 against Dallas, they, like you said on the opening, they're still a tight checking and lower scoring team on a larger scale. But for the last 5 versus a Western Conference opponent has gone over for Florida, and I feel like in this matchup here, they're both going to come out with some speed. And if I'm Minnesota right now, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, what was it? 4 straight losses for them. And they were all pretty ugly losses. And now all of a sudden they go ahead and beat Tampa Bay and Dallas, 2 teams that have quite a bit of respect around the league as far as, their players and goaltending as well. So 7 goals on Ben Bishop, 3 goals on Vasilevsky. I'll go with Minnesota right now. They're scoring. And Florida to go over the total of 6.
Carmine, Andrew likes the over. I like Florida. Where are you at?
I'm kind of leaning to the under here. We talked about these two when Minnesota traveled down to Florida, and Florida's scoring a ton of goals at the time and playing well. And I said, Minnesota's the type of team that tries to get you to play their style of hockey, and if they do, they'll come away with a win. And in that game, Florida jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and Minnesota stuck to their game plan and chipped away at that, and eventually won that game 4-2. You've got Stalock in net tonight, and Minnesota's gonna go with the hot hand now. They have to at this point. He beat Tampa 3-2. He beat Dallas 7-0. And you just look at some of the numbers. 3 of the last 4 games for Minnesota, I believe. 4 of the last 5 games for Florida have gone under the total on the road. And we're talking about like games in Detroit, in Pittsburgh, one against the Sabres, and then in Columbus. The only one that went over the total was against Ottawa, and Ottawa has been a sieve this year as far as goals at home or away. I'm leaning to the under here. I think you're getting plus money. I think it was like plus 105 on 6. I understand Florida is that 6.5 type of team, but even with Serge Bobrovsky in net, I think 3 of the last 4 for him have gone under the total when he's in net. So I'm leaning to the under here. I think that 6 is out there. They might be begging you to take the over here, and if Minnesota plays their game, this could be one of those 3-2 type finishes.
Carm, a question for you. I remember earlier in the year you said that you want to get on a streak early, not later into the streak. Does that apply for teams that aren't as skilled, or you're talking more really, really contending type teams when you're talking about that strategy? Even though they have 2 good wins right now, if Minnesota goes ahead and wins tonight, are you going to start betting on them, or it's mostly for good teams you do that?
No, I think I need to see more than a 3-game sort of sample size to see that. It's different for the upper echelon teams. I sort of rate teams as A's, B's, and C's. And I talked about Tampa Bay, and I thought that Tampa Bay, we talked about it about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. Given their schedule to finish January, I said they had 13 games left, and they weren't going to go any worse than 11-2, and they've only lost 1 game of those. And I know somebody commented on the Friday show on the video saying, Tampa is an exhausted team. There's no way you can take them in their game. I think it was against Winnipeg, I think it was. And I tried to explain to them, that this isn't about, having 13 games in 21 nights. You have to look at what teams have done over the years. Cooper for Tampa Bay manages his team's minutes within a game unbelievably. When they're up 3-4 goals, you're not seeing Stamkos rolled out and playing on the first and fourth lines like we saw, let's say, Austin Matthews on Saturday because they were losing type of thing. But they went into Winnipeg and they put 7 goals. So this is not an exhausted team, and now they're off until the 27th, and they come back and play Minnesota and Dallas in a couple of back-to-backs, I think. And just get on this Tampa bandwagon right now because they're rolling. They're going to win that division over Boston, and they're going to be right where they belong. Take Tampa when you can get them. If you can get them at 1.5 plus money, take them as well. So as far as your question to Minnesota, no, I need to see more before that. They did play an unbelievable game against Tampa to beat them 3-2, and I think that 7-0 win over Dallas is an aberration. They could play that game 10 times, and you're never going to see another scoreline anywhere close to that. So I wouldn't put too much stock in a 7-0 win. I like the way Florida's playing, and Prez. I know I like to joke around about this, but the Leafs are in trouble because these teams behind them are playing very well, who are now ahead of them. Columbus refuses to lose. I don't understand. I just don't know what Tortorella is putting in the water in Columbus.
He's top 3 coach in hockey. Anyway, guys, let's call it a show. We got to get this up because we have a game starting at 3 p.m. I don't need to discuss the Leafs or Montreal or Buffalo. It seems all 3 of our teams are not doing so well, but at least mine is doing the best. I'm out of here. You're out of here. Guys, thanks so much for watching Puck Time. We have a big slate of games for tomorrow. We'll figure out who's going to be on. Well, we only have 5 games tomorrow, but that's good. We'll figure out who's going to be on later tonight. Everyone enjoy your day today and take care of yourselves. Thanks so much for watching Puck Time.
Good luck, guys.